The text arrived at 11:23 p.m. on Wednesday, 3 days after Dad's funeral. Melissa, we need to discuss your trust fund. Family meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Be there. I stared at my phone, exhausted from a week of funeral arrangements and sleepless nights. Dad had been sick for 6 months and his death still felt like a punch to the chest. Another text. Also, we need access to all your accounts. Time you contributed properly to this family. Mom's medical bills won't pay themselves. I sat up, suddenly alert. My trust fund. The one Dad had established when I was 16. The one my family had mocked for years as my allowance and play money. My older sister Melissa had always been the family's financial golden child. Top of her class in finance, senior loan officer at Beacon Trust Bank, never missing an opportunity to remind everyone of her expertise. Meanwhile, I'd gone into what she called boring government work. A career choice that generated eye rolls at every family gathering. Thursday morning, I arrived at Mom's house to find everyone assembled. Melissa in her power suit, Mom looking frail, my brother Jason fidgeting with his phone, and Aunt Carol near the coffee pot. Finally, Melissa said, not looking up from her laptop. Let's make this quick. I have a client meeting at noon. What's this about? I asked. Melissa pulled out a thick folder. Dad's estate is complicated. Medical bills, outstanding debts, the mortgage. We're looking at roughly $340,000 in obligations. Mom's face crumpled. I don't know how we'll manage. That's where we all pitch in, Melissa continued smoothly. Jason's committed his savings. I'm restructuring investments. And you, Emma, need to liquidate your trust fund. I blinked. My trust fund is for emergencies, Melissa interrupted. This is an emergency. Family comes first. How much is in Emma's trust? Aunt Carol asked. Melissa waved dismissively. Not much. Maybe 40 or 50,000. Dad set it up years ago. Some small savings account. Emma's never done anything productive with it. I kept my expression neutral. My trust fund isn't available for withdrawal. Don't be difficult, Melissa snapped. This is family. We need that money. Whatever you have needs to be transferred by end of week. The trust has specific terms, I said carefully. Melissa's smile was condescending. Emma, I'm a senior loan officer at one of the city's top banks. I understand trust. Whatever amateur setup Dad created, I can navigate. Just give me the account information and I'll handle the paperwork. That's not how it works. For God's sake, Jason interjected. We're all making sacrifices. Don't be selfish. Mom reached across the table, trembling. Sweetheart, I know you want to keep your savings, but we're desperate. Just this once, can you help your family? The guilt was carefully applied, precisely calibrated. I recognized the tactic. Melissa had used it for years. I'll review the trust documents, I said finally. But I can't make promises. Melissa's eyes narrowed. Review them with me. Tomorrow. Bring all the paperwork to my office at Beacon Trust. I'll walk you through the withdrawal process. Build up. That evening, I reviewed the trust fund documents Dad had given me on my 25th birthday. His letter, written in careful handwriting, was tucked inside. Emma, this trust is protected at the federal level through special provisions I arranged during my years in government service. The structure is complex, established this way for your protection. Your sister doesn't understand how this works, and I haven't explained it to avoid family conflict. Use this wisely. It's meant to give you security and independence. Buffett. The trust wasn't $40,000. The current balance was $8.7 million. Dad had been a federal banking regulator for 30 years before retirement. He'd used his expertise to establish a trust fund protected by federal banking regulations, the kind typically reserved for whistleblower protections and witness security programs. The trust was held by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, not a commercial institution. Any unauthorized access attempts would trigger automatic federal audits. Melissa had no idea what she was about to walk into. Friday morning, I arrived at Beacon Trust Bank with my folder. Melissa's office was corner suite, floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive furniture meant to intimidate. Good, you brought the paperwork, Melissa said, gesturing to her desk. Let's see what we're working with. I handed her the trust summary, carefully selected pages showing account structure without revealing the balance or federal protections. Melissa skimmed the documents. This is straightforward. The trust is held at, wait. She looked up sharply. Federal Reserve Bank of New York? Yes. Why would Dad use the Fed? That's unusual for a personal trust. He had connections from his regulatory work. Melissa frowned but continued reading. Regardless of where it's held, we need to initiate a withdrawal. I'll need your account number and authorization codes. I don't think that's advisable. Emma, don't be difficult. I'm trying to help. This is literally what I do for a living. Give me the account number. Against my better judgment, or perhaps because I knew exactly what would happen, I provided the information. Melissa immediately began typing, accessing Beacon Trust's internal systems. I'll initiate a transfer request through our bank's federal interface. Standard procedure for accessing Fed-held accounts. Melissa, you should really. I've got this. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Requesting access, entering withdrawal authorization, and submitting. Her computer screen flashed red. That's odd, Melissa muttered. System kicked back the request. Probably just a verification issue. She tried again. Another red flash, this time with a warning message I could see. Unauthorized access attempt. Federal audit protocol initiated. Melissa's face went pale. That shouldn't happen. I tried to warn you, I said quietly. What did you do? Melissa demanded. Nothing. But you just attempted unauthorized access to a federally protected trust fund. The system automatically triggers an audit when someone tries to withdraw without proper authorization. I'm your sister. You gave me the account information. I gave you information. I didn't authorize a withdrawal. The trust has specific terms that prevent anyone, including me, from making certain transactions without federal oversight review. Melissa's phone rang. She answered, listened for 30 seconds and went even paler. Yes, I understand. Tomorrow at 9. Yes. She hung up slowly. That was my compliance director. The Federal Reserve just flagged an unauthorized access attempt originating from my workstation. I have a meeting with federal banking regulators tomorrow morning. Melissa, you should have listened. Get out, she hissed. Get out of my office. Revelation. The family group chat exploded over the weekend. Melissa, Emma filed some kind of complaint against me. Federal regulators are investigating. Jason, what? Why would she do that? Mom, Emma, what's going on? I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I spent Saturday morning on a video call with Margaret Chin, the Federal Reserve compliance officer assigned to the case. Ms. Parker, Margaret said, reviewing her notes, your sister attempted to initiate a withdrawal from your protected trust fund using her credentials as a loan officer at Beacon Trust Bank. This triggered multiple red flags in our system. I didn't authorize any withdrawal, I confirmed. We're aware. The trust structure your father established includes specific safeguards against coercion and unauthorized access. Your sister's attempt constitutes a serious violation of federal banking regulations. What happens now? Margaret's expression was professional but firm. We're conducting a full audit of your sister's transactions at Beacon Trust. Any banking professional who attempts to access protected federal accounts without authorization faces potential license suspension and criminal charges. Criminal charges? Attempted unauthorized access to federal banking systems is a felony. Additionally, if we find evidence she's done this with other clients' accounts, the charges escalate significantly. My stomach dropped. I didn't want. Miss Parker, you didn't do anything wrong. Your sister made a choice to bypass proper procedures. She used her professional credentials to attempt accessing funds she had no legal right to touch. That's on her, not you. Sunday afternoon, Melissa showed up at my apartment, her usual polish completely gone. No makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, wearing jeans instead of her signature power suit. You need to fix this, she said without preamble. Call them off. I can't call off a federal investigation, Melissa. You started it. That trust fund complaint or whatever. I didn't file a complaint. Your attempted withdrawal triggered automatic security protocols. The system flagged it, not me. Melissa's hands shook. They're auditing every transaction I've processed in the last 3 years. Emma, they're going through everything. Client accounts, loan approvals, internal transfers. Then you have nothing to worry about if everything was legitimate. Her silence was damning. Melissa, what did you do? Nothing. But her voice cracked. Just standard procedures. Some shortcuts here and there. Things everyone does. What kind of shortcuts? She sank onto my couch uninvited. Sometimes clients need help accessing funds quickly. I'd expedite transfers, bypass some approval steps. Nothing major. Did you have authorization? I'm a senior loan officer. That is authorization. I closed my eyes. Melissa, that's exactly what federal regulators look for. Unauthorized access to client accounts, bypassing security protocols. You're lecturing me about banking? You work for the government doing whatever boring paperwork. I'm a federal banking compliance investigator, I interrupted quietly. I work for the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. I investigate exactly these kinds of violations. Melissa froze. What? I've worked in federal banking oversight for 6 years. I investigate financial institutions for regulatory compliance. It's not boring government work, Melissa. It's federal law enforcement. You never said. You never asked. Every family dinner you talked over me. Every holiday you dismissed my career as irrelevant. You assumed because I don't wear designer suits and work in a glass tower that I'm unsuccessful. Melissa's face crumpled. The regulators asked me about you. They wanted to know our relationship. Emma, did you report me? No. But when the automatic audit was triggered, the system flagged that we're related. Standard conflict of interest protocol. You have to help me. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them you authorized the withdrawal. I can't lie to federal investigators, Melissa. That's a felony. So you're just going to let them destroy my career? I met her eyes steadily. You tried to steal from a federally protected trust fund. You bypassed security protocols using your professional credentials. You destroyed your own career. Resolution. Thursday morning the news broke. Beacon Trust Bank senior loan officer suspended pending federal investigation, read the headline. The article was brief but damaging. Suspension without pay, potential criminal charges, ongoing federal audit. Mom called immediately. Emma, what have you done? I haven't done anything, Mom. Your sister lost her job. She's facing criminal charges. Over what? Some disagreement about a trust fund. She attempted unauthorized access to a federally protected account. That's a federal crime. It's family money. She was trying to help. It's not family money. It's my money held in a trust Dad specifically protected. Melissa tried to steal it. Don't be dramatic. Mom, she committed a federal banking crime. This isn't about family disagreements. This is about breaking the law. The silence stretched. How much was in that trust fund? Does it matter? Emma, please. Just tell me. $8.7 million. I heard her sharp intake of breath. 8 million. Dad established it over 20 years. He made regular contributions from his salary and investments. He protected it at the federal level specifically to prevent situations like this. And you just kept that secret? I tried to explain at the family meeting. Multiple times. Melissa kept interrupting. She assumed it was nothing, so she treated it like nothing. Mom's voice turned cold. You let your sister destroy her career to prove a point. I let Melissa face the consequences of her illegal actions. There's a difference. She hung up. The family group chat was brutal. Jason, Emma just admitted the trust is worth almost $9 million. She's been sitting on millions while we struggle. Aunt Carol, and she let Melissa lose her job over it. That's cruel. Melissa, she works for the banking regulators. She knew what would happen and set me up. I muted the chat. 2 weeks later, Margaret Chin called with an update. Miss Parker, the investigation revealed your sister has been conducting unauthorized transactions for at least 18 months. 23 separate instances of bypassing security protocols. What happens now? Her banking license has been permanently revoked. She's facing federal charges for wire fraud and unauthorized access. The U.S. Attorney's Office is building a case. Will she go to prison? Possibly. That depends on whether she accepts a plea agreement. But she'll never work in banking again. I thought about Melissa's corner office, her designer suits, her constant need to prove she was more successful than everyone else. All of it built on shortcuts and illegal access. Thank you for the update, I said quietly. 3 months later, I attended a retirement party at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York for one of Dad's former colleagues. The other federal banking regulators greeted me warmly. Your father was brilliant, one elderly regulator told me. He understood banking law better than anyone I knew. That trust structure was a work of art. He protected me, I agreed. Even after death. Mom called last week. Emma, we need to discuss the medical bills. I've sold the house, but it's still not enough. How much do you need? She named a figure. I wrote a check from my personal account, not the trust, which remained untouched. Thank you, she whispered. I don't deserve this after how I treated you. You're my mother. I'll help with legitimate needs. But the trust stays protected. That's non-negotiable. I understand. We haven't spoken since. Jason sends occasional apologetic texts I mostly ignore. Melissa's awaiting trial, facing up to 15 years in federal prison. The trust fund sits in the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, growing steadily, protected by the same federal regulations that destroyed my sister's career. Dad's final gift wasn't just the money, it was the fortress he built around it. Every Thursday I think about Melissa's attempted withdrawal. About her absolute certainty that she understood banking better than anyone. About her assumption that my boring government job meant I was powerless. She wanted access to all my accounts. She got access to federal investigators instead. Dad would have appreciated the irony. I certainly do.